Welcome to DAExMachiNation. Join us as we explore the mysteries of this world. Cryptids, monsters, macabre tales, and horror stories abound. Could they be true? Are monsters real?
And thank you all for joining us on another edition of DAExMachiNation. We've got a full house for you tonight. We got Robbie Jed Raines coming to us from South Carolina. We got Terry Pocket Doc Davis from the somewhat stoned state of Colorado. And joining us was a very good friend of mine, an old friend of the show. We are glad to have him back. And those of you who guys are not familiar with what lurks beneath, you guys are really missing out. He's making the push for 1 million subscribers, folks. He's well over 900,000. So if you guys have not given him a like, share, and subscribe, please go by and do that. You'll see the link not only in the description of the show, but it'll be popping up in the chat. The man who needs no introduction, but I will introduce him anyway. This is my good friend Josh from What Lurks Beneath, and he is just an awesome dude. So Josh, tell us a little bit about yourself, what got you started in this, and again, I'm going to pop the link up.
Oh, thank you so much for the kind words. Yeah, I've always been fascinated with, I don't want to say the paranormal, but I guess just, Bigfoot and stuff when I was young. And I think my mom really encouraged that because she was really into it as well. And so I wouldn't say I was obsessed, but, I would watch like paranormal shows, but it was nothing more than just like, an interest. And so I want to say it was about 2013, Finding Bigfoot came on, and I thought that show was pretty cool, and I watched it quite a bit, and I was like, oh, that's really neat. And then I remember like 2014, I kind of discovered like what a dog man was. And I was like, whoa, this is like, I don't know, just it really captivated me because I was like, this is terrifying. But during that time, I was kind of doing a lot of different stuff in real life, like learning like production and just, audio engineering. Like I'm kind of like a jack of all trades, master none kind of guy. And so I feel like everything is kind of like led to this channel. And so I've told it a few times before, but long story short, like 5 years ago, I was driving home from where I was working at the time, which was like 45 minutes away from where I lived. And I don't know why, but I ended up putting on like, I don't think it was just scary stories, but I found a narrator. His name is Swamp Dweller. And I really dug the whole like spooky narration thing. I never really like sought it out or anything. So I was like, oh, this is cool. And I remember I'd listened to it on the way home, and I remember the exact spot on the road I was, and I was like, I could do this. Like I could totally pull this off. And because I had like already a background on like how I'd record it and like everything like that. And so I was like, all right. But I thought it was kind of just like a passing, like, one of the other bazillion things that I've done. And so I kind of got a wild hair at my butt, and I just went home and made the channel. And then I kind of just chipped away at it, slowly over time. And I guess people ended up liking it. So fast forward to now, obviously it's gone through a lot of evolution. A lot of evolution? I don't know. Yeah.
Substantially.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, congratulations, man. That's awesome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's now it's like trying to wrap my head around all the things that there are to look into and cover. Because like back then, it's like I felt that I was like itching for stuff. I'm like, what can I possibly look into? But now I feel like we have better tools and stuff now too to like really research, and there's more information available on stuff. And it also, and just like the format in which, I create content, I didn't really like know how the idea was there, but like back in like 2019, I didn't really know like what the idea looked like, how to like present information. I didn't know you really could get on a camera and like tell things in a story, so yeah, just evolution over time, so anyway.
Sorry. Your storytelling, I can see how it has evolved. I mean, I was listening to the channel years ago as it was growing, but, even the most, some of the most recent shows you've been doing, your style has still kind of continued to evolve. And you've really got a good dramatic take on it. I mean, it's not just somebody sitting in front of a microphone reading off a script. You put a lot of drama into it, which I really like, and I think that really enhances the appeal because there are channels out there that sound like they could be just read by an AI, and I think a couple of them are. But I really like the flair you put to it because it really brings it home, kind of makes it personal.
Yeah, it's funny because I always tell people I kind of just mimic my dad, and that's really where I got it from. And growing up, he's such a natural actor, and funny enough, he actually does acting classes. And to make it even funnier, my current editor that I've had with me for, I want to say, almost 3 years now, was actually, I met him because my dad would carpool with him on the way to acting class. And he'd be like, "Oh, Peter, my son does YouTube." And I think I don't know what he was doing at the time. I don't remember. I think he was like doing some sort of like nursing gig or something. And anyway, him and I hit it off. And yeah, so he's been my editor for almost 3 years now. So it's just funny how things kind of come around. But not to trail off too much, but yeah, my dad is just really amazing at just emotion and just telling a story. And so that always captivated me. And I'm like, well, maybe I can do it like that. But over the years, I've had a lot of different styles. I've experimented a lot. If any of you out there like watching this have like kind of seen a lot of my stuff, you'll definitely notice quite a bit of an evolution. Like I've gone through various writers and writing styles. There's some episodes where I would try it like in just this one way, and then other episodes where I would try it in this way. And so, I feel like I'm like one of the only channels out there that is definitely like all over the place in terms of like style, just because I'm always like, well, maybe this is the right way to do it, and maybe this is the right way. And so, but at the same time, like I definitely try to like pull it back and like at least keep the core of, like, even though it may be written a certain way, I still try to like keep it quite a bit of my personality. So a lot of times, like when I was delivering the script or when I do deliver, I will ad lib a lot of parts like on the spot. Not like make up things, but I mean like, ad lib like what's written in my own way. In fact, there was a period there for a while where I wouldn't even like read the script before I shot it. I would just like do it live because I had this idea. I'm like, well, I want to like react to what I'm reading as I'm recording it. And of course, it ended up in quite a bit of flubs, but and there were some obvious mistakes because I think that's probably not the best way to do it because, when you go over it a few times, you kind of learn like the pacing and stuff. But I don't do that now. But, I just to try and I guess looking back, I really don't know what my thing was about that. But I guess I was thinking I can create a more personable experience, more authentic and genuine. But, whatever. Anyway, yeah. So I feel like over time, it's definitely it's continuing to smooth out. I still don't feel like it's 100% yet, but because I'm always like working at the kinks of how it can be better, and also just how to tell a story. Like when I take a case or a person's story, the first thing I do is I break it down into a chronological format, basically like a glorified bullet list, and I kind of go through it. I'm like, okay, how should I open the story? And then how do I take the person on a journey, and how like what can I omit that I could reveal at the end? Is there anything that I could like deceive the viewer into to where at the end it's like, oh, wait a minute, you thought this way, but it's actually this. And that's tricky, because obviously with every story you can't do that. But so yeah, I feel like that aspect of the craft is definitely a lot more time consuming and just nuanced for every single little story. Sometimes you can kind of draw certain parts out. Other times you could really kind of like build into it and really, get into what the character was thinking. Yeah, so that's basically it in a nutshell. I don't really know what else more to add to that.
That's one of the great things about it that I've enjoyed about your channel over the years is the fact that it is an evolving channel.
Mhm.
I feel like that not only have the stories gotten more interesting, but the way you tell them has gotten more interesting. And seeing the evolution of a channel like that really kind of not only just engages your audience more, but it makes everybody feel more invested. Oh, I remember when it was this and that kind of thing.
It's also funny too because visually, I have definitely been all over the place. A lot of that is because I also have like edited my own stuff for quite a while, just because I love editing and I love production. So I look back at some older stuff, and again, like you're gonna see, things everywhere from like the actual images and like visuals used to like the effects used, and some of it looking back is pretty vomit inducing because I'm like, what was I doing? The other part of it is just like testing new things and just growing. I've probably used, I think for a while I used Premiere. Then I like used CapCut for a while. I've been using DaVinci Resolve to edit for quite a while. My editor uses Premiere. So there's definitely going to be like a stylistic difference. Even like now, I still edit some of my own videos, and I have Peter, my actual editor, edit. So we're both, like doing a video at the same time. And it's like if you go back and like watch my content right now, you can definitely tell like a Peter video versus like a Josh video. We just have different styles, but they definitely complement. And it's I don't know if it's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing because a lot of channels they have like a very distinct style. Every video it's like the same way. Whereas me, it's kind of like there's still me at the core, but the way I like to think of it is like how like for sitcoms or like TV shows, every episode is like not all the time, but like there's sometimes a different director, but you don't really notice it as much. That's kind of like how I like to view it as like the core is still the same, but the way you get there visually might be a little bit different. Maybe like in the transitions or like the visuals used. Peter definitely uses a lot more stock footage. You'll notice that, but he uses like certain effects. Whereas me, I like to use a lot more like still images and kind of pan around. It's just interesting things that you'll notice and just stylistic differences. But yeah, it's a little fun tidbit there.
You were going to say something a second ago.
Yeah, I was just going back to what he was saying about moving around and trying different things.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing ever grows in a comfort zone, and
No,
if you don't push that envelope, you're never going to grow. And I've here recently have really learned that because I stepped out of a comfort zone, and thanks to DA and Doc. But that's that's something I pat you on the back for doing, because if you don't do it, you'll never know.
Use AI.
In what way? Visually, all the time. Yeah, all sorts of stuff. I guess it also depends.
For the visuals, because I know the stories are largely submissions.
Yeah, so the stories are a combination of user submitted and like actual like just cases that we've been able to find. Josh, have you tried Final Cut Pro? I've never. Oh, hey Neoma, I haven't talked to you in a long time. What's up? No, I've never used Final Cut. So actually, fun fact: Donovan Dredd, I'm like we're really good friends. He uses Final Cut Pro, and he's been trying to get me to use it for a while. I'm not a Mac guy, so I'm all Windows. I've been pretty like with DaVinci Resolve for quite a while. The music writing professor, he said something profound to me. You have to sit in discomfort. I guess it depends on what though, right? But to trail back to the AI question, for B-roll, I really love the way you can make B-roll look with it. For certain, I would say for certain visuals that you can't normally have a picture of, right? Because I think you can make it look really good. For some things, I don't really like creating scenes with it. Like if you have a complex scene where it's like, I don't know, like a vampire climbing up a castle to like, grab a hold of a princess. It's just, you're kind of getting a little more complex, and I don't know. So there's still some things, but yeah.
He said hello from Washington State. I told him you're in the Pacific Northwest too.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to say where, but
Yeah.
he's out on the West Coast somewhere.
I had some girl reach out to me, and I don't think she didn't like know like what my YouTube was or anything, but I think it was kind of like an anonymous thing, and she's like, "Where are you at?" I'm like, "Nevada," and she just asked me questions. I'm like, "I'm not going to tell you where I really live." Like, come on.
Here's my street address.
Yeah. Why don't you come and check it out right now?
Yeah.
Come
Well,
say hi.
I'll say this, Josh. If I'm up in the PNW doing a class up there anytime, let me know. And you're more than welcome to bump into class. So I actually had a guy in one of my Washington State classes that shared an encounter with me. So pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, the whole PNW, man, there's just so much history, you guys. I mean, I did an episode a while back, and this is the problem when you do so much content, like it starts to bleed together, and you have people who are like, "Hey, you remember that one episode, that one story?" I'm like, "No, I'm sorry." I'm sorry. There's a place in Oregon, and I want to say it's like Central Oregon, and I can't remember the tribe that was around there. I really can't. I'm drawing a blank. But anyway, just a lot of stories, not just like Bigfoot related, but just like weird stuff, right? Like energy, vibes, man. Just I think it was like one of the portal stories, if I remember right, where like one of the guys was a hiker who saw like a kind of like a rippling in the air, and he was pulled through, and it was like all jungly, if I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, it doesn't help that some of the stories I cover, it's like, a couple paragraphs, and it was like pulled from something. Oh, that's also something I wanted to mention. If you guys are like interested in more of this stuff, I really encourage people to check out Albert Rosales' Humanoid Encounters database. It's incredible. And there's just so many things that he's personally investigated in those, and that some of them are like little blips of information, but some of them you get like these just why it's almost like you're reading a 1970s science fiction. It is so out there. But it's crazy. So there's a lot of stuff that comes from that. I find a lot of stuff on Mysterious Universe, Infinity Explorers, that I'll kind of like pull from and get ideas from books as well. You kind of just research around and find stuff. But anyway, you mentioned the Pacific Northwest, and so Oregon and Washington, there's just so much strange history. I mean, you could probably do like an 8-hour episode on each state alone. Yeah, it's so wild. Thank you, Richie.
I think of all the stories of yours I've listened to over the years. I think the one that sticks with me the most is because you're telling because there's a lot of the channels have covered this. Hell, we've covered this, but I really like your dramatic telling of it. Is about the Palmyra, Maine incident with that family that was basically laid siege to.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first time I ever heard about it was on Josh's channel. Before we even talked about it, I'd listened to it before we did our show on it. It was because
Okay, I'm a little embarrassed. I don't remember ever doing it. I know the story, but when did I do it? When was
It's
this?
been a couple of years ago.
That's probably why. Yeah, that's probably why. Yeah, that's a story from the East Coast that definitely really, if I had like a bucket where I had to place like the top like weirdest stories, cases, it's definitely in that bucket for sure. I remember like looking into that area, the whole Palmyra area. It's strange. It's strange because like the people in the town and the towns around it talk about hearing and seeing and feeling stuff. I know there's been reports from like officers and other like military personnel from around that area over the years that I'm talking about cases that I've read that have never made it into an episode because they were literally like a paragraph where it's like, an ex-naval personnel reported blah, 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 blah. And another report, but it's like, I'm not going to include it in an episode, but during my research, you just, read through a lot of this stuff and you're just like, oh my gosh, as you're like getting sucked in, like going through it. And, in fact, the whole like upper what Northeast, it's screwy, man. I don't even I wouldn't touch it. And in an episode I just did, I don't know if maybe it came out, I don't know, I forget, I lose track. The Bridgewater Triangle, all that, it's like right in that area. I know, pretty sure my geography is correct, and Palmyra, Maine does not touch, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
No, the Bridgewater Triangle is mostly in Massachusetts.
Oh, well, there you go. They're not terribly far off.
It's up in New England.
Yeah. Close enough that it all shares the same.
Yeah, the Palmyra story was from 3 years ago. I just looked it up, and I shared the link in the chat. So if you guys have not heard that Palmyra story, definitely watch that. It's one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah,
great episode.
Matt Emsch did it. I know Mr. Ball's in that story. There's quite a few people that have covered it, and obviously it's been on. I think it was Paranormal Witness that did that, or maybe it was These Woods Are Haunted. One of them.
No, I think it was These Woods Are Haunted. I think that was the one that did it. But it was definitely one of those two. But I think it was These Woods Are Haunted.
The channels I've listened to the most.
One that does the little cartoon, kind of. Yeah, that's the one that did it. Then
I think the channels I've listened to the most over the years are yours, Mr. Ballin, and Dixie Cryptid.
Everyone's always like, the stupid wife for making the husband lock the guns in the barn.
Yeah.
And in his in his defense, I really don't know why you would have a firearm but keep it locked away outside the house. Doesn't make a lot of sense. And I'm sure after that case, she's probably like, okay, like I get it.
I was a cop for almost 20 years, so there was always guns in my house. And I told that part about the story to my wife, and she goes, "What, is she stupid? They don't do any good out in the barn."
The only thing I can think of is maybe she had some, weird disposition with guns, or maybe she had an experience. Who knows, But either way, like that one of the creepiest stories for sure.
Yeah.
Like I said, that whole like northeastern area, man. You got the Appalachian Mountains, whatever there.
Yeah.
That's my area.
Yeah. In fact, there's a gentleman. So if any of you out there have watched These Woods Are Haunted, which I know a lot of us have, there's an episode. Gosh, I can't remember his name. I'm sorry. He had this weird experience within, I want to say it was Pennsylvania, where he saw like this, like a 1700s like ghost. And he had some like other weird experiences around there. Well, I got a chance to interview him, and I did this like, it was like last December, and it's never aired. Like I never like sat around to doing it. So then what happened is like around that time I interviewed a bunch, like Roy, I can't remember his last name. He was also on the show. He had like a werewolf experience in Louisiana. It's crazy. It's a crazy story. And then around the same time I also interviewed Neoma Finn. And when I was doing her interview, I was editing it. I was like trying to like doll it up so much that like it completely burnt me out from interviews, because it's like to like edit and like, polish a 2-hour thing was like so intense that I was like, I don't want to do interviews anymore. But now like kind of going back to it, I guess I could actually announce it. So I'm actually going to be doing interviews now, but it's going to be kind of more of like doing it with experts. So like you guys, if anyone out there has ever watched the channel Diary of a CEO, it's really fascinating. They're a huge channel, but they interview like some like big people, like a lot of I think a lot of celebrities have gone in there. But anyway, if you guys get a chance, go check it out. I mean, just kind of see like the style of it. And I've had some of these interviews that I've done with people for quite a while that have been sitting on. I didn't really know how I want to do it. I knew I wanted to release it on another channel, like, do a whole different thing with it, but I'm like, I don't really know how I want to present it. And recently I kind of like figured it out, like how I want to like package it and present it and like, do it. And so I just finished an episode, the first episode. It's actually with the MUFON director of Oregon. And it's really interesting. His name is Dean. Sorry, Dean, I forgot your last name. It's really fascinating, the stuff we get to talk about from some of the older UFO cases like Roswell, the Kecksburg incident, the 73 Pascagoula incident, and just his thoughts on like PSYOPs and like AI. It's just, yeah. So that should be coming out tomorrow. Not on What Lurks Beneath, though. I'm going to have a separate channel just dedicated to interviews, and so I'd like to get you guys on there as well individually, kind of just pick your brain. It's definitely kind of more of a professional feel, right? Not really a storyteller thing. So again, just kind of a different flavor. Yeah. So I actually don't know how I got sidetracked here.
That's okay. We do it all the time.
So you're on this channel. That's how.
Yeah, you're in good company.
I go on a trail and it just takes me.
Getting sidetracked is what we do.
Yeah,
all the time.
We look for squirrels all the time. Squirrel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
DA likes to say all the time there are no experts on this channel, but I beg to differ. We are definitely experts in getting derailed and sidetracked.
Amen.
You know,
Off topic and everything else.
speaking of expert, I am like obsessed with coffee. I love it. I love the smell of it. I love the art of making it. And you think like someone with my obsession would like be really invested in like, making it, understanding all the nuances. I don't care. Just like I know I like it strong, and that's about it. My wife has to be like, honey, like, when you order, you like a breve. I'm like, a what? A breve? What? She's like, no, it's like this amount of cream and this. I'm like, whatever.
Down and bought a French press.
Yeah, I'm like,
no going back.
No,
Black,
no,
2 sugars.
I've been French pressing it for like 3 years. I can never go back to the Keurigs or anything like that. Oh, no way.
There's no comparison.
No, it's funny because like if we go out to like dinner and like you get a cup of coffee, it tastes like water with a splash of coffee. I need like sludge. Give me cowboy coffee. Like it better be like ooze.
It's the coffee I make. If I
My wife's like,
French press more than me, it ain't strong enough.
She's like, it's so bitter. How do you drink it? I'm like, that's all I know.
Before I got the French press, I was I still have it. I have the old style stainless steel percolator. I got rid of my Mr. Coffee like 10 years ago.
Honestly, I was kind of like about percolators for a while, and then we went camping like years ago, and I was like, all right, percolators are pretty darn good. You can get pretty strong, especially like the steel ones. Oh, just fantastic.
Little ceramic coated steel coffee pot I take camping.
Oh, that's
what I tell you, experts are getting derailed.
That's how you got to do it, man. Get up early in the morning. So I used to not have my crap together. I would like get up, anywhere between like 7, 8, 9, just whenever. And now I'm up at like 5 a.m. every day, and I love it. I wish I would have started getting up earlier, but even before. It's just, yeah, just wonderful. Get up, have your coffee, and the sun's rising.
Sunrise with a cup of coffee in your hand.
Oh, it's quiet. No one's up yet. You can kind of just like think to yourself, and it's really not that bad. Like once you kind of get used to it, you got to find your rhythm. Like for me, I find like about 10 p.m. is my bedtime. I get right at 5 o'clock. I'm ready to go. So I'm always thinking about the next video. I'm like, what's next? What am I gonna cover next? or I guess what are you gonna piece together next? Is always the big one. What is your favorite place for witness sightings? Oh, from Puyallup. What's up, Jello from Puyallup? That's cool. Yeah, you're way up there. Dang, how's the weather? Zuni. What is my favorite place? I don't know if I have a favorite place, but I'm going to list places off the top of my head that are notable. Texas, Tennessee, Florida, South Carolina, and probably, I think it's a cross between like Michigan and Ohio.
You need to come to Missouri.
Yeah. Missouri's pretty hairy. There's just weird stuff. LBL. Yeah. I saw a guy comment earlier. He's like, I live near the land between the lakes. I hate it when people call it LBL. Only people who call it that are people who aren't around here. I'm like, wow. I'm like, it's just calm down, man.
Yeah, he's switch to decaf.
Yeah. I'm like, have a cup of coffee, why don't you? I can't feel my feet at 5. I used to be that way.
Here's a question for you that's, I don't think any of us have covered it yet. This will be virgin territory for all of us right here.
Okay.
What do you think about them allegedly resurrecting direwolves?
So I know very little of it. Then in the last 24 hours, my wife mentioned it to me. Then I saw someone post on Facebook that
Like 60 texts about it over the last
yeah,
two,
they're like, it's not really what it is. It's sensationalized. Blah, blah. And I'm like, I also really, I don't really have an educated opinion on it. But I will say this: if it's what they did, we all need to slow down, right? Like, why are we bringing back dire wolves? But if it's totally a sensationalized thing, then I guess I can't say I'm so. Yeah, hybrid's fake news. Then I guess I can't say I'm surprised, because I was telling my wife earlier, like, we live in a day and age where everything is so overly sensationalized, where, you can't. It's like, an article title will say, like, an asteroid is about to destroy the Earth, and then the article is like from a scientist who's like, well, an asteroid could destroy the Earth and about a 16% chance at 2049 or 2050. And it's like, come on, and so you just,
we were talking
I don't know.
about it,
Yeah.
and they said that the article that I read said that those dire wolves will be about 150 pounds when they're full grown, and that's not a dire wolf.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah, my German Shepherd was 110 pounds.
This is a comparison of a dire wolf to a gray wolf. It is not weighing 150 pounds.
That's a big boy.
That is a big, big boy.
That's an alpha predator.
Yeah, it is.
My
If you had
question is,
there's nothing they couldn't take down on North America.
I don't know. Go for it, Robbie.
my question is, if they were dire wolves like they're saying, and they used the gray wolves and all this stuff, why did they have to use a dog for a surrogate mother for it? They used a regular dog.
Really?
That's what. Yeah. That. Why not use a gray wolf?
So,
But they used an embryo from a regular dog is what they implanted, and this comes from Colossal. This is not. This was their video that they put out, and it said, and that's the company who did it. And it was used a regular dog. I never said what kind of dog, but it just said a dog. That I was like, that don't make a lot of sense.
Just a guy said they took the dire wolf gene out of a gray wolf. That would be watered down versions. They're finding almost intact corpses of dire wolves in the La Brea tar pits. I mean, why couldn't
they said you can't get anything out? They answered that too in the video, though. They said because of the heat of the La Brea tar pits, it kept them from getting any viable DNA. The two samples that they got was a tooth that they got in a cave that they said was like 13,000 years old, and then there was a 72,000-year-old skull that they got permission to take one of the bones up in the top of the head that they got another, and that's how. And they said they got like 15%, I think, was the number out of the tooth, and then they got way more than they needed out of the bone in the head, and that's how they gene sequenced it and used. I think they used some CRISPR technology.
Yeah,
and that's how they sequenced everything.
A true dire wolf, it would be probably 400 to 500 pounds.
Yeah, but see, that was the thing that they were talking about is they used the full sequence. This is. I'm not making this up. I know this sounds like the plot of the very first Jurassic Park, but this is what the guy said. They used the sequence, the full DNA structure of the gray wolf, and then mapped it out with what they knew of the dire wolf, and they looked for the genetic differences, and they filled in the gaps of the gray wolf with what they wanted from and they specifically said to make them bigger, which, I mean, they're probably going to be bigger than the gray wolf, because the gray wolf isn't the biggest wolf species we've got. There's just a lot of stuff that just kind of,
I don't know. Carry a tourniquet, folks. That's all I got to contribute to that.
And a lot big to tell you
can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, I mean,
we had like multiple Jurassic Park movies on why that was a bad idea.
That's exactly what I said. I said they made a whole series of movies on this crap.
There's 4 or 5 movies is why that's a bad idea.
I told my wife the second because she told me about it. She's like, oh, by the way, do you know, like, that she told me about the whole dire wolves thing, yesterday, and immediately I'm like, do you remember in Jurassic Park, right? And because she was asking, she's like, well, how can they do that? And I'm like, well, I don't know anything about genealogy or how any of that works, but I'm like, what I assume they did like in Jurassic Park, where they're like, well, we don't have a complete DNA structure, so we're going to borrow things from other things. Because I was like, you remember in the first one, the raptors, it may have been more than just the raptors. They took the gene from a frog that allowed it to be asexual. Because remember, Ian Malcolm was asking the scientists, he's like, can they reproduce? He's like, oh no, they're all females. Turns out that they could change genders and lay eggs and stuff. So it's like,
DNA.
yeah, it's just like, wow. Anyway, immediately brought me back, and I'm like, oh gosh.
Yeah, that's what me and Angie were talking about today. I was like, man, they had plenty of movie material to show that this is really not a good idea.
Well, they're going for a mammoth next, they say.
Well, they only bred 3 of them, and they're in captivity.
Right.
So, assuming they don't ever get out into the wild, I don't see how that could get bad. But if that DNA recombined with a modern species of wolf and kind of hybridized to get bigger, like for example, look at a lion and a tiger, a liger, how it is much bigger than either of its parents. If that DNA got hybridized out in populations today, that would be a massive predator with no known natural.
Look at the koi wolves. Look at the koi wolves we got out here in Colorado.
That's exactly the point that somebody brought up is, what if they're not making a dire wolf? What if they're just making some kind of monster that's really never ever been in this? Super predator that gets out and just totally destroys the population. Is the keystone species.
Well, look at some of the snakes that are breeding in the Everglades in Florida now. They're breeding super snakes out there.
Can we not talk about snakes?
Doc, did you see they've got king cobras that are on the loose?
Dude, I'm going to shoot you in the kneecap next time I see you. With my airsoft
Look, just because that's as high as you can reach.
That's horrifying.
And Annette wants to know why I don't want to visit Florida.
I love Florida, but like from a weather and nature perspective, I love it. Do I want to live there? I have family down there, and it's nice. Again, it's nice to visit, but the hurricanes and the flooding. We all saw what happened to Tampa, and what happened to Miami. Like a year ago? I just like, I'm cool. No thanks.
Buy all new shit every couple of years.
Gosh, and so my dad grew up in Florida, and he was always like, it's just you can't go outside in the summertime. You're just dying. I'm like, but this is long ago, because he's like 70 something and he didn't have AC or anything growing up. You just die. But that was part of the reason he left Florida and he went to Colorado. Is it Rado?
I'm from here. I've been out here 21 years and I still call it Colorado.
Well,
Colorado.
Missouri, not Missouri.
You hear the natives say it's Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado. Because I got people who are like, he didn't say it right. It's Colorado. I'm like, it's like people they call it Oregon. I'm like, what? What's an Oregon?
Yeah.
I'm like, you mean Oregon? They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, like a body organ, just Oregon, not Oregon.
One of them Oregon cookies,
Yeah,
with a little cream in the middle of it.
Are you an Oregon donor?
Yeah. Here in Missouri, it's spelled Lebanon. If you look at foreign country, it's Lebanon. But if you ask most people, it's Lebanon. But if you're from there, it's just Lebanon.
Yeah, that's like Peabody, Massachusetts, up there. I said, hey, where's Peabody? How far is it to get Peabody from here? And they're like, oh, you mean Peabody? I'm like, what? No, I meant Peabody, like Worcester. So.
Well, there's a town in Kansas called Arkansas City. But if you pronounce it that way, they get pissed off.
My mom's from Kansas. So, like growing up, she's always like, Josh, you runt it. I'm like, what? You runt it.
You runt it. Yeah, go get me that wash rag.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's common around here, too. Yeah. People putting an R in when it didn't belong.
I grew up around that, too. So my daddy said wash.
Washington.
Man. Yeah,
Doc, you ate yet?
You done it?
A goat.
You done it?
Yeah, I've been out here for years, man, from the South, and Yeah, the lack of humidity. Do not miss that at all.
You know, it's this guy's talking about Cali pronunciation. So I've actually had to like call businesses from like a certain town just to say like, hey, I'm out of town. I'm just curious, like, how do you say your town's name? And they're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, thanks, bye. I've had to use Google's, like a lot of times I have to end up like just YouTubing it because I'm like, I don't know like what this is or like how you know, and turns out it's like, I'm like, how do you, okay.
It's like coming to Mississippi. If I know somebody's not from Mississippi, if they say Biloxi instead of Biloxi, because it's Biloxi on the coast, or like where I was born, Natchez. If they say Natchez, I'm like, no, it's Natchez.
Natchez.
It's Natchez. Yeah.
Like, stop putting so much emphasis.
Yeah, just like when I moved out here to Colorado, I was living up near Boulder, and there's a town called Louisville, right? Well, I grew up in the South, and Louisville was Louisville.
Yeah,
right?
Louisville.
So I was at the hospital working in the ER, and I was like, hey, where's some good restaurants? And, I just moved up here. Where's some good restaurants in Louisville? And they looked at me and they're like, what did you just say? I said, Louisville, right here where we are. I said, oh, this Louisville. I was like, no, it ain't. So everything's different, man.
So you mentioned you're from Colorado. I haven't told it yet on my channel, but I have a really interesting, I'll kind of give you guys the rundown on it. I don't know if he wanted me to use his name, so I'm just going to call him Tom. Really, really interesting thing. So just for everyone's understand, I have like probably a mountain of stories that are just sitting in my inbox that I can't like get to fast enough because for the most part, I'm kind of like a one-man band. So it takes me a while to like, circulate around. But anyway, he's this gentleman who reached out to me, and long story short, he's a nomadic mountain man and survivalist from Denver, and he lives in Alamosa. Is that how you say it? Alamosa?
Yeah.
And he's often like camped in areas kind of like Devil's Playground, and he has this wolf dog, and in 2022 he had this like series of strange things. So the very first encounter he was staying at La Puente shelter in Alamosa. And he wakes up at 3 a.m. to go catch a bus, and he sees 5 of these strange, like glowing pearl white lights outside the window. He has no idea what it is. And the weirdest thing was that these lights appeared to be intelligent, right? They start breathing in and out like they're pulsating. And all of a sudden they kind of just vanish into the sky. He has no idea what this was, but this marked the 5-day event for him, and I'll get to that. So 2 months later, this massive blue orb appears over, I guess, the Rio Grande. Is the Rio Grande or Rio Grande? Yeah, Rio Grande at 2 a.m. And it had like black tar, like a black tar like center, and this very kind of like electrical outer glow, and emitted this loud like popping noise. And this reappeared on multiple nights, and of course there was like other disturbing sounds and sightings and sensations along with it. So I'm looking at my notes here. He also had another experience. He was at a closed restaurant. I'm not going to say, I guess I could say the name, Wise Apples, if anyone knows where that is. He heard cows that screamed and demonic howls. I guess there's a community garden nearby. It was also the site of disturbing events with strange entities making strange noises. In Cole Park, he witnessed 7 to 8 foot humanoid wolves seen giving commands to smaller entities. He also observed strange eyes in alleyways. A brown wolf barked orders like a commander. Then during a summer storm at Devil's Playground, he saw 5 massive lightning domes. After the storm, everything went silent, followed by crying dogs, whistling sounds, and 4 of the wolves that began charging him. Now, back at La Puente shelter again, I guess he has footage of it. I haven't watched it yet. I think he sent it to me. Of the 4 glowing orbs. Apparently, the footage shows orbs by a gate on a garage and 2 watching through windows. And then he basically described to me that they wanted something from him, which is the reason why they were following him. But that is basically like a really condensed, shitty, summarized version. Enough to kind of like, okay, sounds like you got a good book there. Like, you know, what's the story?
Yeah.
I
But,
know you had me at demonic mooing cows. I was like, huh?
I mean, I try to just condense it down to just like little bullets, but basically that's yeah. He seemed like an interesting guy. I think he'd been homeless on and off for a while, obviously with the shelter situation. But he, like when he wrote to me, it was just this, you know, and I'm like, dude, I need to like go through this and digest it. In fact, this isn't Colorado based, but the last episode I did, not the last, one of the latest ones I did, it's called A Black Mass Followed Her for 5 years. I just did it. It's about this girl named Cora. Her name isn't actually Cora. I'm not going to say her name because I changed it to Cora because I didn't know if she wanted her actual name being told. I do this a lot. Just to, you know, even if people say, oh, you can use my name, I'm like, well, just we're gonna make sure. Anyway, long story short, that she actually sent me her story, which is what you hear in the episode. And so, yeah, those kind of things happen a lot where people are like, hey, I had this weird experience, you know, or I had this series of experiences. What do you think? And oftentimes, I don't really know. You know, you kind of just doing this gig for so long, and you know, you spend a lot of time off camera, like reading and researching, and kind of just like you'd be amazed at the amount of hours that I'll spend just figuring out, okay, I have like an idea for an episode, but what should I stick in it? And it's like, okay, well, maybe I could do like a story from here and like a missing persons case and like, you know, an encounter kind of story here, but then I got to find them all, right? And then you don't just find them all. You got to find ones that like, you got to think about the viewer, like what's going to segue really good together. So it's like, oh, well, maybe I could do like a Bigfoot thing here in Missouri, and maybe the guy was like camping by a lake, and then I can kind of take that and find a way to segue that into like a lake story from nearby or like somewhere in the area, right? And then maybe kind of segue that to like a historical native thing, you know, where they had legend, then it kind of segue. So it's very deliberate and very precise. I don't just like take stuff and just like, that makes an episode. There you go. So yeah, you got to really like piece it together. But as I was saying, I spend a lot of time just like reading through a lot of stuff that again never makes an episode. You'll never see it. But in that course, you know, you just go through so much stuff. You're like, my gosh, like this is just what do you do with this information? Because it's so out there. And I can't tell like any of my family or friends about it because it's you know, they're like, that's weird. You know, they're like don't be weird. So my one of my writers, Josh Cutchin, you know, he always used to joke and say, you know, I can remember odd events and things that I've researched about, but I have trouble remembering things, you know, like my son's birthday or like, you know, this certain event that I need to be, but I could tell you about this like obscure thing that happened in like Germany in 1961 about a UFO thing. And so it's just, I get it. You know, when you live in this realm all the time, you just run into odd stuff. That brings me to another point. A lot of stuff that I've covered is United States based, but there's so much stuff in like South America. And another place that I haven't really touched on much, but a lot of it is actually, you can find it in like the Albert Rosales stuff, is like a lot of like Eastern Europe, like Slovakian, just weird stuff. I mean, you think about it, that place is like a frozen wasteland, you know, and the whole like Soviet area, right? Like you look how big Russia is, and you know, there's a lot of weird stories, but the reason I haven't covered much of that is because again, like I can't really take like a paragraph and like blow it into like a 10-minute story, you know? So a lot of that stuff, unfortunately, never really gets covered unless there's enough meat there, or unless there's, so a good example, a while back, I want to say it was maybe a year ago. There was several stories about USSR divers. Those were all, to my knowledge, real and taken. I wish I could remember the book. That was actually inspired by a Mysterious Universe article written by the very talented Brent Swanser, who actually used to write for me for a while. Then I couldn't afford him. Yeah, and so he actually was able to kind of dig some of those up. Just really weird stuff. You know, you think about mermaids, but then you hear like these ones, and you realize like there was like stuff the USSR the stuff that USSR was like hiding from their public, like just what they would refer to as like aquatic humanoids. Like I'm talking like, you know, silver metallic blue suits, and you know, I'm not talking like Little Mermaid here. I'm talking like amphibious fish looking things. I think there were a few where
the guy on Hellboy.
maybe. Yeah, maybe, but just weird. There's one in particular I remember where the diver got up close, like they were holding on a blue orb, and the diver got close, and then they emitted this like force that shot the diver up so fast that I think he actually ended up succumbing to the bends, which is,
yeah,
I'm gonna sound like an idiot here, but compression sickness, decompression sickness.
Yes, nitrogen.
Thank you. Yeah, nitrogen. Yeah, yep. I was drawing a blank there. Yeah. I mean, like he, I think, accelerated to the surface in like literally a matter of a couple seconds because of the force. And I think they were like 170 meters down or 170 feet down. Either way, like I think he died from it. But yeah. So but unfortunately, because of this was like in the 80s, and because it was so obscure, right? Like the only place you're gonna find that in is a book. And so, like, you know, when you cover that, people are like, bullshit. You know, pardon my French, but it's like, look, I'm just telling you like what's there. You know what I mean? Like. You gotta, you know, make the decision to believe it or not. But it's fascinating. I find it very interesting. So yeah, like there's a bunch of stuff outside the United States that just is really weird. And in fact, this is actually one of the questions I had asked Dean, the MUFON organ director, in the interview. I was basically asking why is so much of this stuff centered around the United States? Like, why is it always like, why don't we hear much about other places? And I think it just has to do with that. A lot of United States media is kind of like, you know, the place in the world, whether it be news stations and stuff. And of course you hear things from other countries and other places in the world. But I think that has a lot to do with it. I think we're also the ones that really popularized the whole like concept of UFOs and aliens and things like that. And, you know, of course, you know, get your pitchforks out because I'm probably wrong. You know, I probably just spoke out of my butt there, but you know, like just like with the Roswell and some of the other incidents you had in the 50s, and we were kind of at the forefront of that. Like to my knowledge and research, I can't recall any other country being like, oh, you know, UFOs are a thing, and we had a huge crash site we got to cover up, excluding South America, right? Because I'm sure they've had a whole bunch of stuff that we'll never really know about. But again, you know, South America, like that whole place, man, there's just so much but unfortunately, because there's a lot of accounts and things that I've come across that are like very rural, and I'm talking like poor villages, very, very rural. They don't really report that stuff, you know, like it happens. They're just like, oh, you know, they may, you know, talk about it to the police, but unless like it happens to an official or just someone who actually like wants to report it and put it on the internet, you don't really. Yeah, there's not really. Yeah, so it's.
Well, think of it like this too, Josh. How many of these villages are so isolated from anything? I mean, no internet, very little in the way of communications with the outside world, anything like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, my hand again,
probably a lot more. Say again.
That's exactly what I was about to say. I was like, yeah, we're the information mecca with everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody's got one of these, and everybody can get on and say,
exactly.
Look what I just saw.
These people are so isolated that honestly, there's probably a lot more that goes on that we never hear about. Never.
Well, case in point, Far Escalante, when you know he's pretty much all but said that he has rediscovered the thylacine. You know, that he's been all over his channel, he's been all over Joe Rogan's channel. But it took him so long to actually get that proof because where it was at in this village, and I want to say it was Papua New Guinea, but it was the village was so isolated that he had to send a phone or some kind of camera phone, something like that, had to send it. It took 2 weeks to get there, and then they had to teach the guy how to use it for when the thing showed up again. And finally, the guy sees it, takes a picture of it, then has to wrap it back up. Then it takes 2 more weeks to get back to Forest Galante again. I mean, like George Clooney said, ain't this a geographic oddity? 2 weeks from everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, but like Doc said, I mean, there's just some places that are so remote that.
Greg House has a question for you, Josh. He said, for all the stuff you've covered, what's the creepiest, scariest thing you've ever researched, in your opinion, that you believe to be true?
The American political system. No. No.
He said, believe to be true.
Honestly, are we talking like specifically like paranormal, weird, mysterious, or kind of just more like, I don't want to say realistic, but more, I can't think of the word I'm looking for. I guess I'll do one of both. Probably the one that's not paranormal-ish, probably the deep state, and just knowing all the stuff that happens along with that. I mean, that's such a deep rabbit hole. I'm not gonna touch it, but just the whole deep state topic umbrella is honestly pretty disturbing. But in terms of like actual like scary, creepy, paranormal, that's a really good question. The one that sticks out to, okay, let's talk eyewitnesses. So the one that I think that sticks out to me, of course, and everyone's heard it, is the Matt Emsch story. And I say that because after talking to him before, that he's probably the only person I ever spent a considerable amount of time to, oh my gosh, I can't even English right now, a considerable amount of time talking to before I even ever heard his story. And in fact, I didn't even know he had a story. We kind of just hit it off. And we hung out for a while, and then he's like, oh, yeah, I have this crazy, I have a story, like, you want to hear it? And I was like, yeah. And so the video that everyone's seen, like, that's genuine. That's a real reality. I've never experienced that before. And so, and even now, I still talk to him, and I firmly believe that he is telling the truth and that he really had a traumatic experience. So there's that. But in terms of, like, an actual case that, like, really creepy, terrifying. I guess off the top of my head, I mean, Skinwalker Ranch is pretty creepy, but I wouldn't say it terrified me. I don't know. I can't really think of anything that truly like frightened me. But just some creepy stuff, probably like some of the stuff that happens, like some like the Skinwalker stuff, and then like what people talk about seeing on the res. That is pretty creepy. I would also say, obviously, the upright walking canine phenomenon that seems to be happening all over the Midwest. I won't name any names, what they are, but the fact that is such a widespread thing that people see it a lot, enough to where it has a name, and that there's still tons of people that talk about it. It's weird. That to me, I think that to me is probably the creepiest, if not the eeriest. Yeah. So yeah, I would say that. Sorry for the long-winded answer there, but that's what I'd say. I'm trying to make a good interview time for you.
You're doing great.
Can you imagine having a guest who just like responds with like one, like a couple sentences, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
you want to elaborate on that? Yeah. Blah blah blah. Here's what I think. And you're like, oh, okay. Just give them something. They just go. That's what you want, right? Just go. Fill up my time slot. Come on now.
Keep dancing while I crank this grinder, monkey.
Yeah. No, you're good. I'm gonna go make some coffee. I'll be back in 10 minutes. You come back, I'm still going. It's like, oh, this is great. I don't got to do nothing.
On trick. Yeah, he can talk. It's getting him to shut up. That's the trick.
Oh, 100%.
That's me.
It's funny because that's during the day, I like never talk. I'm like really quiet, really mellow. And so like I have to like sometimes I really procrastinate when it comes to filming, because I'm like, like I gotta do the thing, I wouldn't say get in character, but you kind of gotta like, I can't just be me. Like I gotta I gotta focus, you know, and like be me. So like right there's the thing, you know, you gotta do the thing. Sometimes I don't want to do the thing for 45 minutes, you know, and when I'm done, I'm like, oh, thank God. Take this off, turn
Hey,
that
I
off,
would
turn
kill to
that
have
off.
a studio set up like yours, though.
It's taken, you know, taken a minute, but yeah, I actually had a so fun fact. If you look at the first interview I did on this channel, his name's Alan Clark. He had the ghost photo and stuff like that. He's actually like a really professional bougie photographer. I mean, he's shot like Bush and like just Beyonce and like Ludacris. And he got on like a Zoom call with me and he's like, you know what, I think, Josh? He's like, your lighting isn't working. I'm like, what, really? He's like, no. He's like, we got to fix it. I'm like, okay. He's like, all right. He's like, so put this light here and do this there. He's like, first turn the light off, do this. And like, he helped me dial it in. And he's like, all right, now you're looking. And he's like, now when I look at you, he's like, it looks like you want to tell me a story with the way the shadows hit your face. I'm like, cool. Then we're at a good spot. So, so yeah, thanks to him. So yeah. And of course I changed this color. You know, I had it purple for a long time. And recently I'm like, why don't I go back to red? Like that seems to be the motif of the channel. So yeah.
I like it
So
a
I'm
lot.
trying to like read through the comments too, because I'm sure I'm sorry if you guys have asked questions and I'm just yapping away and I'm like missing stuff. So
What do you think? And I know you just here recently, within the past couple months. Well, actually, not even that long. I think it was in the last month. You did a story on it, but I kind of wanted to pick your brain on what you
yeah.
thought about what they discovered beneath the pyramids.
Yes. Well, walk by. What specifically do you want to know?
Well, do you think it's legit, or do you think that this is because one of the world's leading Egyptologists came out and said that their research is wrong and blah blah blah? But that to me almost seems like a smokescreen.
Well, the thing about Zahi Hawass is the dude. Okay, and I don't want to sound like I'm one way or the other because I try to be very much okay. Well, you know, we gotta look at all the components here, and I have to make my personal belief off of not just what's presented, but the people who are either objecting to it or are very pro. Like anyway, I was saying like Dr. Zahi Hawass, he definitely, in my opinion, he has an agenda. And I know he was like, oh, it's fake news. But, you know, he has been, you know, accused of like gatekeeping access to like Egypt's archaeological sites and stuff. So, you know,
Yeah.
and then I do think it's interesting that Mr. Conyers, the radar expert, I guess the fact that he says like technologically, like he couldn't penetrate that deep. So I don't know. It's and you look at some of the stuff that's come out on it. It's interesting. I think
it's real, but at the same time, it's just almost too fantastical to even fathom.
Well, you look at some of the other stuff that goes on. I'm talking like ancient history, and I'm not the most knowledgeable when it comes to this. I know some things here and there, but very, very, very little. There's a channel called the Y Files, and I think he does a fantastic job covering like some of these like, I don't want to say prehistorical, but I mean when I say prehistorical, I mean like, you know, back thousands of years. So that's not the right term, but I guess ancient. That's what I meant to say. Ancient. He did one. I can't remember what the episode was called, but it was on like the Emerald Tablet. That one was really fascinating. But the moral of the story here is, you know, you just look at some of the stuff with like, you know, the Emerald Tablet and like the Egyptian gods and like the Anunnaki. And it's like, you know, you kind of piece together all the stuff. And like there's something going on that I don't think we're being told about. And I don't know when, I don't know how, I don't know who, and I don't know what. But it's just really odd to me. There's a lot of stuff. And of course, you know, I'm not saying one way or the other. This is just a personal observation. Again, there are people who are way more knowledgeable at all of this than I am. I barely even scratched the surface. It's just a fascinating observation. And then of course, with the new thing, it's like, even if the claims turn out to be wrong, it does force us to rethink what's possible, what lurks beneath, literally and metaphorically, right? Because if they're finding, if they're finding this stuff, it tells you what else is buried. I know that's probably the crappiest response I could have given you, but I mean, okay, for example, the shafts they found are spiral, right? And there's this motif that's always associated with with rebirths and cycles and just cosmic alignment, in Egyptian symbology. So it's I don't know. And then the fact that the emerald tablets, that they describe that there's deep wells that bring light to Amenti, and it's exactly the same language that researchers are using. I don't know. There's things that stick out that are fascinating to me. And in fact, if there's anybody out here who's really knowledgeable on this, who's really, reach out to me. I'd love to interview you, pick your brain, because again, this is such new territory for me. Yeah. So basically, the short answer is just possibly. I don't know. I think it's very interesting. But if you want to talk about really interesting ancient stuff, not that this isn't, is some of the ceremonial caverns in Mesoamerica and some of those ancient sites. And I know you can kind of segue that to oh, where do the Mayans go, right? But that whole thing, that there was another one that sticks out to me is the Plains of Nazca. I hope I'm saying it right.
The giant figures of Nazca, Peru.
What did I say? Not NASCAR. Not NASCAR. NASCAR.
Yeah.
NASCAR.
I thought we were talking about racing there for a second.
NASCAR. No. I thought
he done run him up in the third turn.
Booger done jack some wedge in it, running like a spotted
Look, guys, it's 7 p.m. Who's ever out there, you just gotta deal with it. All right, I'm sorry. we're working our way. I done lost my place.
NASCAR.
I got dad brain.
NASCAR.
What was the name? Oh, that's right. That's
NASCAR
right.
lines.
Yeah, thank you. There's that, and then there's a place, I think it's in India. I could be wrong though, that the ground is still radioactive after all these years. I'm drawing a blank though on the name. Again, I haven't looked into it enough, but it's just stuff like this. We're well, how is that even possible? We haven't had that kind of technology. How could you have radioactivity? What? So I don't know, guys. I mean, look, long story short, I think there's a lot of things that were going on in the world, or that have happened in the world long before we were here, that, like I said, that we weren't being told about, that history has been changed or things have been omitted. And I'm not saying one way or the other, right? I'm not saying a certain time, but I'm just saying based on observation. It's just strange. So anyway, when you see this kind of stuff, part of me goes, I'm not surprised based on that, because that's the mind frame where I'm coming from. But at the same time, I'm this is interesting. But yeah. I think the most important question we all need to be asking is not, is this legit? Is it not legit? Is, why are they choosing to make this public now? Not that because this is a recent thing, but you have to understand that when certain things blow up and it kind of becomes a cultural distraction, you have to wonder, is it because it's just so fantastical, or is it because, and again, this is maybe me being a little bit more conspiratorial, or is it because it's a smokescreen for something? I don't know. You know what I mean? So am I kind of being a little conspiratorial for thinking that? I don't know. It's just interesting. And again, maybe I'm just, being that way, but part of me does think that sometimes.
You're being a conspiracy theorist when
most
modern conspiracies have been moved to current events.
Yeah. I mean, why are they bringing it to light now? I mean, is it because there's so much overwhelming evidence out there supporting it, or is it about because something is going to happen? I don't know. I mean,
well, Well, remember the first paper was done in 2022. So, and I understand like that kind of sets the context for the whole event, and I can understand that like when that was first published, there wasn't enough meat and potatoes there to really like, hey everyone, look at this. So I get why, now with everything, but I don't know. Still, you're just like, and the thing is, it's not like this is 100% concrete. Like it hasn't been verified or verified, but still, I mean, it's not 100% like, hey, this is a for sure thing. We've physically seen and explored it. They're just like, hey, like there's anomalies. This is weird. Even if this is legit, like it's worth looking into. So I don't know.
I think it's still like we've talked about before. I think the government always does their little bit, just their little snippet of stuff. So when and if the cat's out of the bag, so to speak, they can always. We told you. We said just like when we covered the couple Super Bowls ago, DA, when me and you went on live and nobody else was talking about that, but they had their press conference. It was buried on YouTube. When stuff happened when we were kids, you didn't see anything on TV except the news. The press they cut in and everybody got pissed off. And he and I were talking about that. Why is nobody saying anything about this? But yet they had a press conference with the SecDef, the Air Force colonel that was over. What was it, NORAD, DA?
Yeah.
They buried it on YouTube. I just why? But they can say, well, we said it.
Yeah.
We came out. We had a press conference.
They have plausible deniability, man.
Yeah. I think that's where a lot of that stuff.
What's wild to me is the ice wall. That mystery has, and again, I don't know much about it. I know like the gist of it, but there's sometimes like I'll just kind of like get on a tangent and like just like really look into it and like kind of just like see the map, the supposed map, and then I'm just like, wow, what if? You just think like, wow, and then you kind of start thinking like, well, if that's the case, then my life is a lie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That one's just really hard to wrap my brain around, because if that's true, one of two things: either this planet is much bigger than we've been given to believe, or basically everything we've ever been taught about science is wrong.
I mean, can you imagine like no pun intended, the gravity of that? I mean, a conspiracy of that scale would have to have so many moving parts done correctly. It's just like, wow, it's wild.
And it would have to have been perpetrated basically since the dawn of history.
Don't that sound familiar, DA? What do we talk? Josh, let me ask you this, because we've said this many times on the show. Does it take more faith to believe that Bigfoot is hoaxed or real? And think about it, because if it's hoaxed, if it is a hoax, what would that encompass? That would be the biggest company on the face of the planet, because you would have to have people
wide hoax
planet wide that was involved in it,
dating back hundreds of years,
going to places that somebody may never come across a track, planting tracks, planting blurry. I mean, think about how much faith it takes to believe that it's hoax versus just the evidence is out there. Kind of the same kind of thing you're talking about right now.
Yeah, so to address that one's it's so tough because being in this field and just the amount of research you spend, you read so much about people who not just have experiences, but have like had family who have had experiences, who had friends who have had experiences, or they're like, oh, I was the guy making fun of people who had experiences, then I had one, and but then you hear things from people who are like, I don't understand, I'm 70 years old, I've been out in the woods my entire life, I ain't seen nothing. And it's like so it's not so much to me, is it real or not real? It's, if they are real, why do they reveal themselves in certain ways to certain people? Why can't everybody have an experience? That to me is like the puzzling thing. You know what I mean?
Think about this, DA. What's your rationalization on that? About the teaspoon in the ocean?
It's like going up to the ocean with a teaspoon, and you take a teaspoon of water and look at it and go, sharks don't exist because there's none in this teaspoon. Most people
Yeah.
never venture any farther into the woods than the local park.
And
Yeah.
Josh, do you know the number of acreage in this country that's dedicated
I don't.
just to the national parks? Not
We started digging into this rabbit hole.
We're not going to tell you a number, but this is not going to include state parks. This is not going to include, I'll let DA include that in a minute because I'm going to blow your mind with just one number. No state parks, no wildlife management, no
Just
Bureau of Land Management, just national parks. What you got a guess on it?
200,000. I really don't know.
88 million acres.
Wow.
Okay, now let's run this rabbit hole a little deeper.
That blew your mind. Now,
okay, add in Bureau of Land Management land, add in state parks, add in wildlife management areas, add in hunting preserves, add in areas that are managed by the government, but we the people don't own. It comes out to a total of more than $1 billion, and that's billion with a B, billion acres of undeveloped territory in the United States alone.
So now take the comments you made with the 70-year-old guy. I've been in the woods all my life. How much of that 1 billion acres has he been in?
He's
how
been
much
in
of that one
same square acreage his whole life.
Well, and that's
expand on that even more. Look at just the state of Alaska. Just Alaska. If you could explore Alaska on foot and explore a square mile a day, and that's a lot of territory to cover on foot. If you could completely explore 1 square mile a day, it would still take you 125 years to see all of Alaska. And that's just Alaska.
That's the conundrum we're in, though, because it's like, there's so many people who have an experience, and if you look at the way these things are physically, from their behavioral patterns to what they do, what they don't do. I mean, I could write down right now probably a 2 to 3 page paper on exactly how they behave, what they look like, just because there's so many similarities based on there's like a sandbox, and they all only it's like they're either like a rustic red or, like with long hair, or like they're black. You know what I mean? And it's like, and even the way they look and the way they behave and what they do and how it doesn't make sense that there's this many people that could possibly, I don't want to say be a part of a conspiracy. That's not the right way, but
that's the point. Think
to
about
make it
how
up,
many
yeah.
people would have. So, but think
It's
about
weird.
it in these terms. Think about it in these terms. Let's say of 1 million people that have said, "I've seen this thing." 1 million. Just use that number.
Sure.
If every one of them but one was lying, there was one person that saw it, what does that mean? If only one out of that 1 million is telling the truth, that means it's real. It doesn't matter what the other 999,000, if they were lying, as long as that one person that saw it and it actually saw it and is telling the truth, it's the truth.
I can't really imagine people wanting to make up a Bigfoot thing because, for the longest time, that's not the kind of attention you want.
Right. Yeah, that was bad. That was negative attention.
Yeah. It's like, you don't really want to say, you might as well say, hey, like, I'm attracted to little kids, it's like, you just boom, you just shelf that and don't say nothing about it. And so, and those are the ones you read where it's like, oh yeah, my pappy shot one and I put its head in the freezer and it's still there. And you're like, oh my gosh, like they're just talking about it like it's like no big deal, and it's, yeah, you hear some of the older stories from like the 30s and 40s. I think the ones that really get me, that really just like hit me, are like when the natives tell their stories of this thing. It's creepy. And it's creepy because not only are they so like nonchalant about it, like, oh yeah, like it's like a bear, like you just, there's just certain places you don't go, white boy. But it's like, no, like they would have stories where it's like, yeah, like there's certain things you do at night because they'll come down and like steal women and children. In fact, in California, that I don't remember the place. They'd call them mountain devils because they'd come and steal women and children and eat them, physically devour them. And that's not terrifying. I don't know what is. And I know you, DA, know. I think you're the one that told me the oh gosh, Oklahoma, that whole like war thing with the Bigfoot and yep. I mean, I can go on and on. There's so many.
The Florida County War.
Thank you. Yeah. And it's just like, how do you think like that family staged that? So, and then people will say, well, you never saw one. You're right. I don't know. I just don't know. You know, like I don't know. It's really interesting, and I like reading it. And I honestly I don't want to see one. I don't. I'm happy. So,
it changes everything.
Yeah.
Thermal
Yeah.
don't lie.
I was just about to ask you, Doc, what's the saying?
Don't lie.
Thermal does not lie.
That night down in Moon Valley when Doc got 3 of them on thermal, that was a paradigm shifting moment for Doc.
I'm pretty sure it's fake, but regardless, it actually like freaked me out. Like it gave me the willies, and
Heebie-jeebies?
yeah, I was trying to like mix it up. I'm like the hilly willies,
Willies?
them hilly willies.
There we
Kidney
go.
problem.
Hilly Willies.
It was supposedly. Let me see if I can actually find it. Again, I'm pretty sure it's fake, but it shows what they believe to be is a dog man like walking in the woods, and it's so the camera's looking this way, but it's like coming this way, and it's through dense foliage. But its outline is there enough that you can kind of see it, and it's like doing this, and it's moving its mouth, and I don't know what it was, but there's something about when I watched it in my head, I'm thinking like, this is probably fake, but it's so terrifying that I don't even care. And then it kind of hit me that I'm like, if I was like in that moment and like that was happening to me, I can understand like that's not really something I'd want to talk about or even like look into, because it's so scary, because you're just you go in with this notion that like that stuff is just fairy tales, and then it happens, and it's like what do you do? And then you hear the stories of the guys who, well, they don't have a story to tell. Let's put it that way. So yeah, it terrifying. Let me see if I can find it. I don't know if I can. If I can, I'll post it in chat. I don't know if there's enough. I can't just. What's a good way to describe it? Footage? I don't know.
Footage is a good one. Roxanne Delgado wanted to know how the Matt Imp story made you feel.
Well, watch the interview. That's literally my reaction. Terrified, literally terrified. Because, like I said, I had never heard it before. So we had hung out. What had happened was we had met at Josh's conference. I didn't know who he was, but he liked my stuff, so we kind of just hit it off. And we had dinner and stuff with a few other people, and he was there. We kind of just hit it off, and people. I now that I remember, there are a few people who like were talking to him about his story, but I didn't really like catch that at the time, so I had no idea. I thought he was just a guy, and it wasn't until I did the first interview with my other friend, my photographer friend, that he reached out and he's like, "Hey, like do you want to hear my story? I have one." And again, I still had no idea. I was like, okay, sure. Like, let's do it. So we set it up, and I remember we got in the thing. I was like, all right, like, go ahead, tell it. And he just starts telling it, and I'm thinking to myself, like, this is probably the most terrifying story I've ever heard. So yeah, wasn't
Josh.
Yeah.
Bowers, was it the VTV? That's the one you're looking for?
I think I found it. Oh gosh. I can't even watch it. It freaks me out. And again, it's probably fake, but it just, it gives me the willies. I don't like looking at it here. Oh, I can't message. Only supported for host. Darn.
Try in the private message.
Here, wait a minute. Hold on.
Put it in private message, and then I'll share it.
Hold on, y'all. I can send it to you guys in chat. It's a TikTok link. Oh, wait, maybe I can't. Join conversation, interact with others. Great. Okay. Okay. Here, let me see if I can private message you. You can share it in chat. How do I do that?
If you look at the top of the column on the right of the screen, there should be a tab at the top that says private. If you click on that, you should be able to post it right in there.
Oh, there we go. Cool.
Oh, there we go.
Yep. There you go. Share with everybody. And you got the creepy music accompanying it, man. Oh, ha, ha, ha.
Would I get a copyright strike for playing it?
Probably not. I don't know.
Well,
of course, I say that, and then you get strikes. So I don't know. I don't want to say in the wrong way.
Hold on. I know how we can. We can watch part of it under fair use. It's only 20 seconds long.
Yeah.
We can show up to 30 seconds under fair use. So let's put up the quick disclaimer real quick. We will throw the image up. And fair use notice, we are going to be using this under fair use. So please don't we take this video down. Now I will show this, but there will not be any audio. Because
you gotta. It's creepier with the audio.
The audio is creepy, but there's no way I can do it without getting an actual copy of the video.
Yeah.
So here we go. If that's a costume, it's a damn good one.
Like I said, it's probably fake, but it's terrifying. That's really scary looking.
Wow.
So I think for me, the scariest part about that is that's probably the most authentic, realistic. Like if you were to have a sighting, that's pretty much like what it would be like to the T. I guess in its case, to the teeth. So I think that to me is really what's more frightening about it than the actual like what's in the footage. But it's like, oh gosh, oh,
Doc, the hairs on the back of your neck just stand up.
Oh,
a little bit.
I copy the link and post that in chat so everybody can check that out.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and it's probably zoomed in. I don't know. Look, there's a reason like why I don't really like cover footage, because it's just like, oh hey, here's 5 seconds, and it's like I'm not gonna like do anything with it, but.
I'm gonna say if we saw that when we was out, y'all might not have to worry about using a Robbie Wrangler. That might be enough to stop me from going after.
We would have beat us to the car.
I don't know about that. Doc would still have to yell for me to get moving, but I probably wouldn't go walking towards it as fast as I normally do. Let's put it that way.
We're willing to guess at the point if we were that close, there would be some serious Freedom Seed distribution going on.
So the other thing I want to mention too. It's probably a fake, but if you look at the time, it's 2 years ago. So there's some people that might be like, oh, well, that's AI. We didn't have AI video that looked anything remotely like that 2 years ago. Trust me, I follow the space. There's no way. We were barely making AI blotches. So, I mean, it's probably a suit.
Dude, it's better than some werewolf movies I've seen.
Yeah. But I mean, like the way it opened its mouth at the end. Yeah. Good fake. It scared me, so there's that.
Yeah. Just the guy's got a good point. AI is better all the time, and there were like 6-7 months ago, it was real easy to spot an AI image, but anymore you look at them, you're like, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. Did you see those new ones popping around where they take a it's not just a character, that's the word I was thinking of, and they're playing the video game that they're in, and they're holding like they did the GoldenEye, and they did Pierce Brosnan, but he's like at the age he was when he played 007. He's holding a 64 controller. It's like, whoa! It looks like a Flash 1990s Polaroid. It's like pretty realistic.
Deepfakes are going to get a lot better.
Look at all the actors they're de-aging for movies now.
Yeah,
like in which one was it where they de-aged Robert Downey Jr. and was it Civil War? Or anyway, where they de-aged him back, he looked just like he did in Weird Science in that movie. I was just like,
Well, at
freaky.
least they didn't have to guess what he looked like. They were able to actually find footage. Well, look at how far it's come. I mean, just a couple of years ago on The Mandalorian, when they de-aged Luke Skywalker for the
Oh,
final.
God. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that, I mean, you could tell it was CGI, but it was still really good.
Yeah.
But even just a year or so later, look how much it's improved already.
I got another video for you guys if I can find it. Oh my gosh, I found it. Oh, this one, it creeps me out. So, again, I'm just going to go into this, that everything I'm going to show you guys is just fake, right? Because could it be fake? Absolutely. But the way it's done, if you just go into it, it's like a movie, right? Like, the movie's obviously a movie, but like, you don't go into a movie like, well, you go into it being scared because you're like, oh, like this is, so that's how I want you to treat this, okay? It's creepy, it's weird. Hold on, let me
For
make
you,
sure.
that we're pretty sure is 100% real.
Okay, so there's a guy in his house. He's looking out the window. Now, what's most important about this is where he's shooting it. It's like South America, which you guys know there's like a lot of like witchcraft and like witches and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. 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 It's not as scary as I remember, but it's still pretty freaky looking. Oh, guys.
I've got one I'd like to play,
Oh.
and just watch the look on.
Oh. Okay, I'll play for you guys. Oh, man, I haven't seen it in a while, and it still freaks me out. It's a pretty big video. It's got like almost 1 million likes. All right, here we go. I'll drop it in. It's creepy. Here we go. I'll send it in private.
Okay.
It's like this witch thingy. I don't know what it is. But she's like doing this, like floating in the air. And the dude's like looking out his window. He's like freaked out. And he closes the curtain, he opens it back up, and she like gets like closer. It's like, oh, no thanks. And then my writer sent me another video while you guys are. I probably forgot to ask you, but I want to know about your guitar. Oh yeah. Oh, actually, my guitar collection is that away off camera on the wall. I got like, I don't know. I've been collecting them since I was like 15. I don't have a ton, but like say like 6 or so.
Hey,
I'll show them off in a different video sometime.
You got to play the since he mentioned South Carolina earlier, you got to play the Howl from.
I will here in a minute. This I'm going to have to play again without audio, but it's still pretty creepy. Again, covered under fair use. I don't know how long.
There's
this
no
is.
music, but you could hear the guy who's like, he sounds genuinely scared to me. He doesn't sound like he's like,
We'll play this. I also just shared the link in. There we go.
I don't care if it's real or not. It's freaky. I would say the only thing that probably makes it more authentic is just the location. I assume it's South America. I don't know. It kind of looks that way to me, but I mean, what are you guys looking at?
Curtains.
Probably Zambian. Oh, it is fake. Darn it.
Kevin's fake.
Yes.
Okay, I'll stop playing it.
He does. Yeah, he shows you the video effects breakdown. Okay, well, it's pretty well done. We'll put it that way. I don't care.
Okay, well, I'm going to play one for you that we've played on the show a few times. This was recorded just about 5 miles from where Robbie lives. It's going to come up like a video on the screen, so it's going to compress you over to the side, but I'm going to be watching your face while this plays. You ready?
Okay, yeah.
Here we go. That was recording on the Ring doorbell camera just a few miles from Robbie.
That was obviously a coyote, guys. Come on.
Big damn coyote.
Huge coyote.
I don't know what it is. I don't care what it is. If it bleeds, it can die. Let's put it that way. I think
If we'd have heard that in LBL or we'd have heard that in Joe Bald, we'd have packed up and called it a day.
I think a lot of people like at the end of the day, like when you hear that and you know that you're like, you don't really care. I don't call it if it could be a Smurf. I don't want to be there. I don't want to be around it. I don't want to see it. I'm happy to know that it and I can live distinctive different lives in different areas. Let's just put it that way. So I like these topics when I could be far away from them.
Yeah.
So
You do you, boo.
The size of a
do
Ford
you.
Ranger.
Yeah. You do you, boo.
Josh, you sound like Doc. Doc who?
That Doc.
Yeah, that Doc.
Hi.
Which Doc?
Hi.
Oh, gotcha.
But yeah, the,
All right,
the backstory on that howl though, Josh, not far from where I live, Sonia, who's in the chat, she lives up here too. It was recorded from a Ring doorbell camera.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you can hear the crickets and everything that are right up there, right close to it.
Uh-huh.
So whatever this was way off, but it still, you can tell it was big and had a good set of lungs on it. So
yeah, it's always the power of the scream, right? Because then you're thinking like, oh, it's got to be big, especially when you can like feel the reverberation in your chest, you know, like from the bass alone. You're like, oh, that's not Bambi out there.
Yeah,
that's something else.
Well, and the group that the guy who put it on Facebook, it was recorded from his dad's ring cam. And I know where the road's at. I've actually talked to the guy. I begged him and begged him and begged him, can we please come down there? You know, I said, I'm a police officer. I said, you know, I promise you it won't be no big media circus or anything like that down there. So I begged him, and he was like, that's my dad's property, so I got to find out. And, you know, he said, Dad said, no, I don't want anybody down there. So I'm like, crap. But it's not far from my dad's house. My dad lives probably 2.5 miles from where that was recorded. So me and another buddy of mine, Johnny, we went up to my dad's and sat there about 3.5 hours, call blasting, like dying rabbit calls, aggressive wolf calls, aggressive coyote calls, just trying to get some kind of reaction, which we never did. But
why? Why would you do that to yourself?
I never said I was smart.
It reminds me.
Doc's the smart one. Doc and Jed are two halves of the same coin. Doc's the smart one. Jed's not so much the smart one.
Isabel, there's actually a video that goes with that. We just have the audio playing. That happened to catch that when something had set the camera off.
No, thank you. See, when people like say to me, they're like, stop sitting in the studio. You need to go out in the field and like, look for stuff. I'm like, first off, there are so many dudes who can do it way better than I could. I'm like, secondly, I don't want to like turn into finding Bigfoot. Like you're going to go out in the woods. You're like, oh, there's a whole lot of nothing out here, and then I'm going to shut off the camera. And then I'm like, what, if you can like capture something and like, it could be interesting, but I don't want to like have to like force a 20-minute episode of me going out in the woods to be entertaining. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
The three of us are planning a trip out into the woods here in just a little over a month. Wouldn't it be kind of cool if we kind of did a live stream together?
Yeah.
You at the base camp and us I'm telling you what we're seeing live.
I mean, yeah, I won't say no. It'd be kind of cool.
Josh Black. And they've been eating, folks. Sorry, we'll get back to you here shortly.
And this is why I don't come out here.
The unfortunate, untimely demise of these three gentlemen fully illustrates why I don't go out there.
There is a specific episode I was trying to find of These Woods Are Haunted that you guys might know. It's specifically the area. Really, I'm not. Of course, it's not. I was looking at the episode list and I can't see it. Anyway, it's this older gentleman. Oh, you know why? Because it was back when they were called. They changed their name. Gosh, what was it called? Terror in the Woods or something. I think is what it was. Yeah, I think so.
Terror in the Woods.
Yes, yeah, I think that's what it's from.
They did the one where talked about the 2 kids or 2 or 3 kids they left in the old single wide trailer when mom
And it threw a
stepdad.
concrete brick through the wall.
Yes, that was a scary story.
So what sucks is that when I reached out to some of these people who were on the show and I got a chance to talk to them, they all basically said the same thing, that like, you know, and production being production, that they like changed the story around to the point to where like that's not exactly what happened. And
They dramatized.
anyway, yeah. Well, dramatized to the point to where I'm like, well, that's not even like factual anymore. You know what I mean? Where it's like that's I listen, for storytelling, you have to dramatize certain parts and you can like add emphasis on certain things, but when you almost like completely change it around and rearrange it, it's like at that point, like now it's a story based off it, but it's not even necessarily like an actual retelling. So
Basically, they said I was driving down the road one night and Bigfoot crossed in my headlights. And their story is, it was a dark and stormy night when Tom was chain smoking Pall Mall, listening to Dwight Yoakam on the cassette player.
Yeah.
The billowing wind shifted and he caught scent of something horrific. Yeah.
He stopped his car and cut out his tire, and he looked around. He realized his shoe was untied. Out of the woods came Arnold Schwarzenegger. And you're like, wait, what? This isn't what happened.
And he said, "Get to the chopper. There's demons in here.
Now,
Get to the chopper.
now.
There's cryptids in here. They're gonna eat you alive."
Yeah, it's just too much. The episode I was talking about was called Werewolf and Demon in the Woods. In the state of North Carolina, David and Lisa investigate strange noises while at camping. That's right. He's an older guy with a white beard. He has there's some freaky stuff. But anyway, Doc, your area, North and South, or was it? No, that's it. You're in Colorado.
Hi.
The other guy, you're up in the Carolinas. That place is.
Yeah, he's in South Crackalacky.
You know,
Right near the North Carolina border.
It's like as soon as you hit like eastern Texas all the way over, the woods are just different. Like out here, you know, you got coniferous, right? That's how you say it, coniferous, like where it's everything's things are spread out. You know, you got the big old Douglas fir and the pine trees, right? What I call Bigfoot woods. It's kind of spread out. You go to like eastern, I'd say Midwest to like eastern. It's like a Filipino jungle, just thick and dense.
Yeah.
You know, the first time I went.
If you look at what an actual rainforest is, South Carolina falls under. We're basically a rainforest.
Yeah. Well, the first time I went to Tennessee, we were driving to Nashville, and I'm just looking out into the hills, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, it is just so. The vegetation is just so dense. It literally looks like a jungle. And I just thought to myself, I'm like, man, as they were like making their way out here, can you imagine just like all the thick debris they'd have to like hack down, and how like humid and just muggy and just. Man, no wonder they have some strange critters out this way.
And we got Wendigos and skinwalkers and the big feets out here. So
like, man, it's a whole different rodeo out that way. Dang.
Come out to Colorado, man. We got some good critters out here.
Oh, maybe one day. Maybe at some point I will do like a travel thing, but I know for a while, like my wife was like encouraging me to do it because she's like, oh, we'll go wherever you want to go. And I'm just like, logistically, there's just like a lot to figure out. You know, it's like, it's not just like, oh, I'll just get a camera and fly. I'm like, you gotta like, and then like, how do you make that entertaining? But and also like compile it into something that's an episode that you could like release regularly. So like those are the challenges.
Do you ever go to conventions? Do you ever go to conventions?
I don't. Josh's is the only ones that I've gone to. So
there's one in Ohio in October. Robbie and I are going to be guests there. Doc's going to be there. We're trying to be there. If you're not busy in October, you should come hang out. It'll be a good time.
I'm not going to say no. I probably will. I like to kind of stretch my wings and go to more of those and kind of just show up and have fun. We should
Yeah.
drive a snowmobile.
We'd love to have you there.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun.
Yep.
It's called Spirit of the Woods.
Whoa, that's pretty cool.
It was a good time last year.
Maybe.
Spirit of the Force. Spirit of the
Spirit of
Force.
the Forest,
You know what I'd like to do? Come to some of these and get a chance to actually talk to people face to face and like interview them. You know, like, oh, if you have a story, like come here and talk to me. You know, it's like I'm like,
I can
I'll be able
introduce
to tell.
folks that are going to be at this one.
I'll be able to tell if like they rehearsed it and like they're full of it. You know, like I never like really got that from anybody though. Anytime I ever talk to people face to face, especially like when you kind of see their body language and how like they tell it, I'm like, it's so. Well, I was gonna mention something, but I don't know if I'm not gonna. No, I'm not gonna bring him. I'll tell you in private, but I'm like, I don't want to like, oh, well, Josh said this about this guy, and I'm like, so. Anyway, there's a popular account. I'll leave it that way. That there's suspicion that it's fake, and I'll leave it that vague personally or purposefully.
There's
Yeah,
a couple I have my doubts about that I might
Yeah.
on the air.
that a friend of mine brought it up to me.
Mainly
I'm like,
because
well,
the details have changed significantly over the last few years.
Yes. Yeah. And so a friend of mine brought it up to me, and you know, this is a person I had the chance to talk to, and you know, hear it from them, and I don't recall the details being changed, but apparently another friend of mine, you know, has like, yeah, he's changed the details. I don't know. I have nothing against the guy. I get along with pretty much everybody, so I don't know. But anyway, long story short, it'd be awesome to come to some of these and see you guys and see you people. And yeah, like if you have a story to tell or just an experience, like whether it's from your brother, your sister, your friend, and you want to just like, hey, I don't need a 20-minute opus. I don't need like a screenplay. If you have a story that's like I'll make it interesting, you know? So, yeah, like, because I'd like to do more eyewitness things where like on my channel where I actually kind of like get to actually like let you take the stage and like, you know, tell your experience and not just always be me. I've done that more recently. I had a girl come on. It was back in October, actually. She had a really, really weird thing happen to her in her house. But a lot of the reason I haven't really done it and explored that territory is there's just not enough people willing to like, you know, want to get on camera and tell their story or like, you know, even send me an audio clip. So it's just not really something I really like looked into. Though I do have something for a lot of people out there that nobody knows about this yet. There's a lady who worked in production on the show Monster Quest or Monsters of America. And she has had like, I guess her team was actually like chased down and attacked by what she actually drew the picture of like what they describe as the Jersey Devil. She's in the hospital. They got injured. Then she had to like sign a bunch of stuff, like a lot of like creepy stuff that happened. We did part 1. We ran out of time, so I'm just trying to get her back in for part 2 to where she could tell the whole thing. It's only audio because you don't want to show her face. I'm not really sure exactly how I want to like put that out. Like, do I just put out the audio? Like, what do I do with it? You know, I can't just show nothing. So I don't know, but I'll figure it out. But that's wild. So yeah, the haunted house one, that was really good. Trust your back brain. Your back brain.
Your primitive brain stem.
Oh yeah.
Your
Lizard
sixth
brain.
sense,
Your gut instinct.
your primordial instinct.
The Roanoke episode. The Roanoke Wolf episode? I don't know what that is. So I'm trying to go back through and I'm sure I missed some comments. This look like it. How are your books doing, DA?
I'm going to release another one hopefully in the next few weeks.
Dude, doing a book is such an undertaking. I just I
Yeah.
I'm just like, no.
Robbie's just released his first novel. And
That's
about to release
awesome,
his
man.
second.
Wow. That's so awesome.
Yeah. It's I always heard him say writing is the easy part. And I'm like, what? Yeah. Writing is the easy part.
Getting your ideas down is the easy part. Turning that into cohesive writing that flows and like, you know, isn't like sound like is like the only book I've done, I don't even want to look at it anymore because like the amount of times I had to reread it, you know, just how the process is just for like the edits and like the back and forth between the publisher. And I'm like, I don't want to read this stupid thing again, you know? Like there's probably like 8 versions of the manuscript, you know, and then it's just like, oh my gosh. How about a backdrop of an I'll probably do illustrations or something. I'm not 100% sure yet. I'll definitely do something. I'll figure it out. I'm not just going to show nothing.
Yeah. As long as
Or
Robbie loves editing. Yeah, me too.
or
Robbie hates editing.
well,
Editing is the bane of my existence.
yeah, especially like if I know there's an episode I'm gonna do and it's like an hour long, I'm like, all right. So the first thing I gotta do, I always try to like gather all my visuals first, and then like I have to go through the script like meticulously and just like, okay, I want to. But like I'm not a person that like looks at the text and then like, oh, I want that. I have to like actually like play it and like listen to it where I'm like, oh yeah, I want a visual here. And I listen to it. I don't want to just like have me on camera the whole time. Like I like having the flavor of like the feeling of like, you know, the location and like the thing. And, you know, like I think in my mind, I've always tried to like, I love like the production of like, you know, shows like These Woods Are Haunted or like Monsters and Mysteries where like they show you like just different things. And it's, I don't know, the glamour, I guess you can call it. I like the way that looks a lot. And so I've always, if you watch my stuff, you could probably be like, oh yeah, I see you're trying to capture that essence. I don't have, you know, 60 hours to work on one video, so I don't get to that point. But yeah, I don't know, there's just something magical like when you go to edit and it's monotonous, you know, don't get me wrong. And then, you know, sound design, like it's funny because there's 2 episodes that I spent like 10 hours on the sound and like they just flopped. And so I'm like, you know what? Where I'd like go through meticulously and like really just like every like part of it had to be like this exact thing. And so I'm like, I just, you know, yeah.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Thank you, dude.
Robbie loves editing. I mean, it depends on the video.
Yeah, I'm not a
But
I'm
yeah.
not a fan of editing in any way, shape, or form. Grammarly and I are mortal enemies.
Well, the thing is, sound design is really important though, because it's like the subconscious part of the video that like that really like invokes emotion or really it's not important in my opinion, like with my style of like content to where you have to spend 20 hours on it. But like I definitely, at least when I do my like when I edit my own videos, I try to like be really conscious of like what's playing. I don't put in like all the growls and like everything. But definitely like if there's, I love impacts. Impacts are like the, you know, like when there's like a part, you know, you're like, oh, like just subtle enough to where you like you just you're like heightened, right? The tension needs to be heightened. So the times there's no audio, it just doesn't have that same oomph. But you don't want the music like blaring, right? It's just meant to kind of be like low in the background and kind of help uplift. We're not watching a movie here, so.
Let me say something. If the audio died.
Satellite.
Oh.
Yep, Robbie's audio died.
Bye, Robbie.
A lot of times, about once a show, we'll lose Robbie's audio.
Yep.
I don't know what about Talk Studio, and it always picks on Robbie.
It does, man. Somebody picked on me a couple of times.
And then there were 3. All right, you guys got me for about another 10 minutes. So make it count. I'm a busy man, don't you know? Come on.
I have things to do.
I got employees to yell at.
I have a schedule to keep.
My assistant's waiting outside right now. My Lamborghini.
My keeper is pointing at their watch.
I have an 8 o'clock bath in my $100 bills. Come on now. Come on.
Well, Sounds interesting, but I can't even do singles.
Yeah, right.
Robbie, you
For
there?
me, I'd probably
what the
I'd
hell?
probably
did
be
I
able
come
to
back
give you
into?
like a small wad of fives. I'm like, well, there you go. That's what
Shit,
I got.
I'd be bathing in copper, man. I'd be in pennies.
You'd be laying on top of pennies.
Yeah, I know. Then the meth heads would steal them out from under me. I wouldn't have shit. So
Oh,
Does dryer
gas
lint count?
explosion.
they'd be like,
Dry lint count.
we can get
Fuck,
some.
what Patty says, huge gas explosion in Lexington, Missouri. 4 houses damaged. We can smell it in our little town. Lexington's not a very big town. Wonder what happened. Huh. Hope everybody's okay.
It blowed up.
It done blow up.
Lexington's right up there where that Amazon driver was killed.
Man, I hope nobody got killed, man. God bless them. All right, we got like 6
At
minutes.
the top of the hour anyway, so we're going to start winding things down. Josh, I really appreciate you coming on. Folks, if you have not subscribed to Josh's channel, I'm going to put the link up one more time. Hope you guys will go over there and give him a like, share, and subscribe. Let's get him to those 1 million subs.
Swimming in gold.
Let's face it. If Josh woke up with the number of subs I've got tomorrow, he'd probably quit.
Hey, we were all there. I was there. It happens.
Hey, we're 10,000, which we're pretty proud of.
You know what? Honestly, even if you get to I tell people even if you get to 100, like that's amazing. Like even 1,000, the fact that I tell people, the fact that you have 10,000 people who liked you enough to want to follow, that's a big deal. Your brain can't even fathom. Have you seen a room full of 10,000 people? It's an insane amount. And so I can't even, to me, the whole 900,000, I can't even, I'm so disconnected from that because I can't fathom that number. That's just so unrealistic. But, the only thing I could tell people is if you're in that spot, just try new things, try new delivery. Every video you should be experimenting, try something new, different story, different, don't worry about all that. This will come in time that. People, even if I could go out in the woods and tell a story and people would still watch it. The idea is that it's you. People want you. Right, so that's key. If you got a great personality and delivery, that's what they want.
Trouble.
Yeah. So
yeah, I said that to DA a long time ago because I own my own business, and I was like, you are your own brand.
Yeah.
And you have to push your brand for sure.
And also, don't be afraid of change and expanding. So for the longest time, as some of you may know, I just did the whole first person narration of Bigfoot Dogman stories. And after a while, I almost quit because I'm I don't really I'm getting tired of it. It felt so one dimensional. And I'm I'd always wanted to do kind of an unsolved mysteries ish, that's paranormal show. But I'm how do I do that? And then I started seeing people how they did it. I'm oh, you could just get in front of a camera and tell the story. Oh, that's how you do it. Okay. And then that's when what Lurks Beneath made the change. And obviously, it's really resonated. People enjoy it. So it just you don't have to be great at. Well, I shouldn't say you have to be great at speaking. I got a lot to learn and work on, but you just have to emotionally resonate with people, man. That's so that's really what it comes down to.
Of connecting. Do you remember the conversation we were having on the phone, Josh, about a certain incident that happened here in Missouri? Dallas County cannibals.
Yes, I was at, but I'm I don't know how much you want me to say and confirm.
Well, that's public knowledge. Everybody knows that it happened.
Okay.
It's a real event. It can be. You can Google search it. Friend of a friend kind of thing. Told me to back off.
Didn't you tell me that already?
No. This just happened.
Oh.
Wow. Just some friendly advice. You might want to drop this one and go on to something else.
Wow. When I assume this other friend is in law enforcement as well.
Retired.
Yeah, that I would take heed, my friend. It's not worth your life.
Let's not discuss this.
I'm pretty sure our chance meeting was not by chance.
Oh, yeah. I'm probably not. Yep. So now they're going to be watching. Make sure you back off. And if you back off, they're all right, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, so we'll see.
You just got to be safe, man. Before I
Yeah.
was wait, what?
Safe?
Like I said, I don't check my mail without a firearm on. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep my head down and keep doing what I'm doing.
You know, I'm honestly shocked I haven't had like any weirdos show up at my house. I always think about that. I'm like, you know, because like you could find out where anybody lives. You know, it's
Oh, yeah.
public knowledge. Yeah, and so it's like,
Well,
you just never know.
That's why some YouTubers don't even use the real name. I know a
Hey.
couple right off the top of my head. That's not their name.
Hey, Josh.
Not even close.
Josh,
What?
I'm on my way.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you're right though, dude. It's a freaking creepy thing nowadays, and you gotta stay safe, man. You gotta stay safe.
But
you're not one.
even with even if you use your false name, like there's ways, like at least I know that I can just take your face and I could find out what your real name and identity is. I wouldn't have to work that hard. There are services you could pay for it. I mean, it's like it's not that like you think how do lawyers like find ways to sue people or not find ways find the people? It's like come on, it's really not that hard. So there are services that you can get, especially if you have a following that they go through and like they erase your stuff from like white pages and just other things that I've had to like pay for and do just so people, that like my public information isn't just out there. So yeah, stuff you get to deal with. It's fun. So
Yeah.
No thanks.
But, it is what it is.
Yeah. Oh yes. I'm worried about being swatted. So that's actually one of the main reasons why like I hadn't like live streamed for a long time, and like I don't really live stream because I'm like, not really something. And I know you probably don't really have to worry about it too much, but all it takes is one person, man, and be like, all right, cool, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need my family traumatized, over just
Exactly.
So I'm like, nah, I'm cool.
And my family's already traumatized enough of me living with me, so it is what it is.
Yep. It doesn't take much either to like get your location and just.
No, it doesn't. Actually, it's terrifying. Actually.
Yeah, especially for like streaming from like really anything. So it's.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know. I was kind of like thinking about.
Don't hide everything.
What's that?
I see even VPNs don't hide everything.
No. I thought for a while about doing more live stream, and it's something I might dabble in, but like I don't know, I'm still trying to be like more reserved about it because I'm like I just but I've like people tell me like it's a great way to connect with your fans. I'm like I know, but there's also weirdos out there, and like they like you can't trust people. Like, notice me, like I've gotten weird emails from people, like nothing like creepy or like oh this is dangerous, but I don't think not everybody realizes that when you do this field, you attract you attract the whole playground, right? You're going to get a lot of normal. Well, when I say normal, I mean like normal in this field, but then you get some of the kids who it's like, oh, okay, gotcha, so, and I don't want to like discredit anybody, but like I can tell like they're just the way they talk, like they're just. Like, dude, there's a difference between someone who's like had like something genuine and like just, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But they start asking me weird questions, about like my personal life. I'm like, what? No, dude. Man, like, I should come over to your house, man, so I could tell you. Like, no, dude.
What's your favorite color?
Yeah. Add me on Facebook. No, dude. I don't even know you. Yeah, weird stuff. Send me a picture right now so I know it's you. Yeah, I'm here.
In your inner circle.
Yeah. Put me in your top friends. Hey, I reached out to your wife, but she didn't respond. I'm like,
danger,
dude.
Will Robinson, danger.
Yeah. No, I try to keep all that stuff on private, and I feel really bad. I really do, because I know there's a lot of genuine people who like want to like talk to me on Facebook and connect with me, but I try to keep it locked down because I got like pictures of like family and stuff in there. I'm like, I don't want that. I have to have that line, So yeah, it is what it is. It is what I don't like it, but yeah.
The price of fame, man. The price of fame.
Is it though? I don't. Everyone
It
tells me
shouldn't
that.
be.
I'm
It
just
should-
like another. I just see myself as another guy though. I'm like,
Yeah. It
I have
should.
friends who are like, dude, you're like huge. Like, I guess.
Yeah, it should.
I'm just an Ozarks hillbilly, and that's pretty
Yeah.
much all I'm ever be.
I'm like, honestly, I'm just a guy who sits in front of a camera and my work is public. That's basically. I don't like. I am so detached from like the celebrity, I'm a big deal mentality. It's so weird to me because I've had people like talk to me and they're like freaked out. You know, I'm like, what? Why are you like what? I'm just a regular guy. Like,
In your
chill.
mind,
You know, when I met you in Tennessee, I was a little freaked out. I'm like, holy crap. This
Yeah,
is
I'm
a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. In your
Well-
mind, you're just a regular guy, but in their mind, you're a different person. Because, like, I remember the first time I had somebody ask me to sign a magazine article that I'd written
That's cool.
with pictures.
That's
and
so
like,
cool.
no, I mean, yeah, but I was like, it was a big deal to them, and
Yeah.
and I wanted to be gracious because they were kind enough to do that to bring that to me. But I was like, in my mind, I'm like, dude, I'm just a freaking redneck from Route 2 Seminary, Mississippi. You know what I mean? I'm not a big deal, but in their mind, I was, and I was
Yeah.
like, wow, that's really really freaking cool. They didn't want to like make a lampshade out of my skin or anything, thank God.
Right.
But,
It rubs the lotion on its skin.
exactly.
Yeah.
But it was, and in your mind, you're you because you live with you all the time. But to other
Yep.
people, you're a big deal, and that's pretty freaking cool, man. That's a compliment to you. And to what you're doing, obviously.
Yeah, I my family thinks it's way cooler than like. I mean, I think it's cool. Like, I'm always kind and like, if someone wants a picture, I'll do it. But
Absolutely.
I'm always like, oh, like that's like it catches me off guard because I'm
Yeah.
like,
You're like, wow, with me?
they're like,
Why?
are
Yeah.
you that guy on YouTube?
Yeah.
I'm
you're
like, yeah. They're like, oh my god. I'm like, oh, oh yeah. Because
Yeah.
to me, honestly, it's just like a 9 to 5. So it's like someone coming up to you and they're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
like I love your 9 to 5. It's amazing. I'm like, oh, thanks, dude. You're like,
Yeah.
cool.
It's so cool that people recognize what you do, and the fact that they're giving you that recognition shows that you got some good reach, and you got something good going on, obviously, because you got almost a million subscribers. So
It's wild,
kudos to
dude.
you, man. Yeah, that's freaking awesome, dude.
I tell
That's
people,
right.
like,
Yeah.
listen to me. If I could talk about aliens in silver suits and sci-fi stuff and like werewolves, like stuff that's so fringe and get this kind of viewership and like then I tell them like that, then you could like anything's possible. They're like, well, how?
Yeah.
Delivery is everything, right? Like obviously storytelling is the key. Like you just have to you just try to turn everything into a story. You can't info dump people. There has to be a story. So if anyone could take anything away, there you go. Storytelling is like the number one way that even like marketing, So
it is. That's marketing.
That's why like with every case I get, I have to like first break it down into a chronological story. Like not a excuse me, I have to break it down chronologically and then I tell the story third person, right? You always start with the date and time. And if it's not listed, you just, you kind of just ad lib it. People like specificity and they like things that are authentic. So even though maybe Margaret on the morning of March 16th woke up and, went driving for the last time in her life, what about when she woke up at 6:34 in the morning and felt really groggy from the night before because her 5-year-old child kept her up, and so she got up and went to the coffee maker and realized I don't have enough grounds, and now she's upset over that. There's not enough coffee, but she's got to go to work at 7. Do you see how humanizing that is? And instantly you can relate to that. I just like made that up. But the point is that you start kind of like building that, and it's instant like, oh wow. Versus if you just, oh yeah, she got up and left at 7. You gotta like, really like give
The details
human,
that make a story real.
yeah, that's like authentic. And so it's like, oh.
It's about making a human connection, man. That's what it's all
Yeah.
about. Really
And
is.
really, if you could like master that, also people really like conversational storytelling. Like they don't want
Absolutely.
this grandiose, the sky was dark and he woketh. That they just want like we're sitting down having a cup of coffee, and just like that they really people really
Yeah, there's
resonate
a
with that.
couple of storytelling channels out there that really go for the melodrama, and I can't even listen to them. I'm just like,
Some people, I mean, you know, different strokes, different folks. I like just, I don't want to be a character. I basically just want to be me. So like when I'm doing What Lurks Beneath, this is basically me. I have a little more persona in the camera, but like it's basically this. So yeah.
Well, brother, we're going to start winding things down. Again, folks, go over and like, share, and subscribe to What Lurks Beneath. It's an awesome channel. You're going to love it. And well, now that we're past the 10 o'clock hour, I want to remind everybody to remember the 22 a Day Foundation. We lose 22 veterans a day to suicide, and that is 22 too many. So check on your friends and family that are first responders or veterans or active duty, anybody that's worn a uniform. Reach out to them, let them know you're thinking about them, let them know you care, because you never know when the "Hey, are you okay?" text might be what keeps them off the ledge that day. We shouldn't let the hard days win, and at least 22 times a day they are winning. So let's get 22 down to 0. And folks, we're going to close her out with a toast. And it's a really good toast that we've been using for a while, and I want to continue to use it. It's from an old Irish drinking song. The song's called "The Parting Glass," and if you haven't heard the song, you should check it out. But when you listen to the lyrics, it's not just talking about saying goodnight to the folks at the pub at the end of the day. It's talking about lifting a glass and saying goodnight to those we've lost along the way. And with the 22 a Day Foundation in mind, let's close it out with this toast. But since it fell into my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and softly call. Good night and joy be to you all. Good night, everyone. Slàinte mhath.
Slàinte.
Thank you for joining us. Catch us again Wednesdays and Saturdays on DAExMachiNation. A special thanks to all our channel members and Patreon supporters. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe.